11 years ago, he began the third phase of his career working as an improvisational-based corporate trainer. Wow. All right, well, let's find out more about that. Welcome to the show, Michael Rock.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What's the fly-by 60-second version? What's Michael Rock? What are you doing these days?
I spend most of my time, I spend a long time teaching and performing improvisation. That was kind of my main gig for a really long time. And it turned out maybe 10, 15 years ago, a lot of people started to realize that the skills that the improvisers use are really valuable skills in the business world. It's about active listening. It's about creative problem solving. It's about collaboration. And so they started adapting improvisational exercises specifically for corporations and for business people.
Wow.
And so I spend most of my time going to various corporations and teaching improvisationally based workshops to help them with communication and collaboration skills and with creative problem solving.
Nice. So is it comedy that you're teaching to improv to the corporate world?
No, not at all.
Okay. So it's business. It's how to speak. It's how to act.
It's primarily how to listen,
right,
and to use what you hear.
Oh, okay, right.
It's about active listening. It's about getting everything that a person says, both what they say in the words and what they say underneath the words, and being able to build with that, which is what improvisers do every time they're on stage.
Right.
And it's what business people should do in business communication, in meetings, in one-on-ones with their direct reports, and sometimes they don't.
See, now that's great. I always love it when people with an artistic or performance background come into the business world. They tend to shake things up, liven it up, and get people thinking in ways that they normally don't.
Absolutely. Great point. Great point, Sin. Okay, so where's that switch between you doing improv, which is comedy, so maybe you're thinking of a comedy career or acting in that, and then where does it switch to business? Like, did you come up with that idea?
No, it was kind of as a part of performing improvisation, I also began to teach improvisation. The theater company that I was with had a little school.
Oh, okay.
And I started to be one of the teachers in that school after a number of years, and then I ended up running that little school. And as a part of that, I started hearing people say, oh, do you know that one of the things that people are now doing is they're bringing improvisational teachers into corporations to do some of this active listening and some of this collaborative creative stuff for business people to help them problem solve, to help them be able to work together more closely.
That sounds very forefrontish. Was this the forefront of this?
What do you mean?
Like, this sounds like I haven't heard of this. Like, this sounds like this was the beginning. Like, now maybe it's a little bit more common, but then that seems like that was unheard of.
It was like I said, about 15 years ago, maybe.
Right.
It started to become a thing that was being done, and now there are actually companies that do exclusively that. They design improvisationally based programs of various kinds that they then take into the corporations and use them sometimes as a part of a program, sometimes the entire program.
Oh, so they focus just on the businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, and I work with 4 or 5 of these companies that subcontract to me when they need an instructor or a role player. And yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So what do you have them do? Like, you have them act out scenarios, or how does that work?
It depends on how the program is designed. One of the things that we do would be modified improvisational exercises that I might do in an improv class, because they're about active listening, as I mentioned. They're about being able to get information that's not necessarily verbal, like reading body language, that kind of thing. So we might do some of those kinds of exercises to make business people more aware of what they're communicating or what other people are communicating to them, and be able to use that kind of thing.
Right.
There's also a lot of, they bring me in a lot to do improvisational role playing, where they'll give me a biography of a typical person in their industry, and I will play that person opposite somebody who is actually in the industry to give them a chance to work on a particular skill. Like, maybe they're doing evaluations, or maybe they're doing mentoring,
right?
And I have to be somebody that they have to practice mentoring on.
Is this just one-on-one, or is this in front of a group?
Usually it's in front of a small group. These generally work out as, there's a big plenary with however many people that are doing the program.
Right.
And then they break it off into small groups where you do some kind of specific skills.
Oh, okay.
And so it's oftentimes myself and a partner working with 6, 8, 10 other people. And you do a role play, you do a couple of exercises on active listening.
Right.
and then sometimes they take it back into the main role play. There's also another thing called forum theater, where say myself and another improviser would improvise a scene that might happen in their business, and they have to be the directors of the scene and tell us how to make the scene better.
Oh, okay.
Like we'll like be bad business people,
right.
and then they'll
Yeah,
say,
it's always
"Oh,
good
well,
you
you
learn
need
from
to,"
mistakes. But,
you know.
So, Sid, I got a big question.
Yeah.
I have a big question for Michael. How receptive are these people? Right?
Yeah, sure.
How receptive are these people that when it's just like, all right, everybody, we're going to be doing some improv. You have some people, maybe some old timers.
Oh, yeah.
Not who are like, what? What is
Yeah.
this? Like, not everybody is like, open.
Open?
Right. Yeah. So how does that work?
It runs the gamut. Actually, it's one of the things I like best about doing this kind of work is I get to run improv exercises with people who would never in a million years sign up for an improvisation course.
Right. Right.
And some of the time they end up going, "Oh, wow, I had no idea."
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing.
Yes. Yes.
Or,
When
or they go like, "Oh my, I really do that thing where I interrupt people all the time when they're talking." So that's a really wonderful thing. But you run the
Once
gamut.
you
You
break
get
that wall down, I think there's amazing learning that goes on.
sometimes, absolutely.
right.
But it runs the gamut. You get people that give you a lot of pushback. You get people that buy into it almost immediately. You get people that you have to win over.
Right.
One of the things that we found that makes it work better is we try to be very clear about what use this has for them.
Okay.
Because
What are they
if-
going to
if
get
it-
out of it?
Yeah,
Yes,
if they don't
right.
feel like they can apply it to whatever it is they're doing, then it's like, why am I doing this listening game? Why am I doing this dumb improv exercise?
Right,
But if
everybody
we
wants
go, this improv exercise speaks to this skill which you use every day in your business,
Right.
then we bring most of them over.
Right. And I think it also helps that your company is obviously supporting this. It's not like you just guys walk in and say, "Hey, everybody, improv today."
It's improv today.
They've
No.
been prepared.
They've been
You know what I'm saying?
prepared.
They have
Yeah.
some time to be like, all right, he's coming in and this is what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And I got to get on board.
Yeah,
Right.
and most of them do.
Right. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
well,
though.
they're all kind of in a sense a captive audience because they're being required to attend. So I'm sure that you have your difficulties with some of them.
Occasionally, but it's actually very mild. I'm amazed at the number of people that you'd think would give you a lot of pushback.
Right.
Sometimes buy in pretty quickly.
Yeah. But you run like I guess the full spectrum of training from like general purpose to specific situation.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. Sometimes they have us come in and it's just like my team isn't working together cohesively.
Right.
We just need some team building stuff. And other times it'll be we need practice on mentoring. We've got people who have to. One of the big programs that I did was for one of the major accounting firms, and they have a manager's training program because what happens is they hire people because they're great accountants. They're accountants for many years and they do a really good job with it. And then all of a sudden they have to manage a team. Well, that's not their skill set. Their skill set was being accountants
no,
and doing
right.
accounting.
Yeah, it's time
So
to-
as soon as they have to manage, then it's like, oh dear, now I've got to figure out how to deal with these people, how to talk to them, how to figure out how they're talking to me.
Right.
You must
So-
have the same thing with engineers as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my big background is dealing with engineers. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you change people's pattern.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the brainstorming? How does you do brainstorming as well?
Well, it's they asked me they said we have a number of different subjects that we'd like to get covered in these talks, and I
Right.
said, well, brainstorming is one that really is closely related to improvisation. The beginning parts of brainstorming are really about tapping into your spontaneous self, sort of
Right.
free associating to get ideas out there. And then once you get the ideas out there, there's another improv tenet that's called yes and. It's about accepting everything that happens and trying to add to it or build with it, which is sort of the second step of brainstorming.
Right.
So there's a lot of crossover between improvisation.
What's the
and
number one
brainstorming.
rule in improv?
Well,
As I heard it, I want to hear if you think the same thing.
no, improvisational teachers sit down and argue about this stuff all the time. I like to think that the number one guideline of improvisation is the phrase that I learned was make your partner look good. It's try to
Okay.
focus on the person you're working on more so than focusing on yourself.
Right.
Under that, a lot of people will say that the number one guideline of improv is what I was just saying, which is yes and.
Yes and.
It's that
Right.
idea of everything that my partner says, I'm going to go along with. That's the yes part. I'm going to say, well, that happened. I'm going to accept it.
Right.
And then the and part of that means that I'm going to try to build with it, use it, react to it. I think that yes and is just another great way to make your partner look good.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're
Yeah,
accepting
totally
everything
the
that
same
your
thing.
partner says or does, and then you're trying to use that, that's
Right.
going to make your partner
You know
look
what
good.
you're saying makes a total big amount of sense.
What about doing like a little improv with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What could we do?
Okay. This is an exercise. Speaking of spontaneity, this is an exercise to work your spontaneous self, your free associative self. It's called Ding. Here's what's going to happen. One of you is going to. Why don't you, Brian?
Okay.
You're gonna make up a story about yourself, or make up a series of events that happened to you sometime in the past.
Okay.
It's going to be made up, and it could be boring stuff.
Right.
Sin. And actually, I'll do it as well. Anytime either of us wants to, we can go ding. When we go ding, you have to throw away the last thing you said, put something completely different in its place, and then continue on with the series of events as if that's what you meant to say all along.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
I think I got it.
You
It's
want-
like
you want me-
grandpa telling a story from like the old days.
Do you want me to give you a little demonstration? or you want to go into
yeah.
it?
Give you a little demonstration.
All right,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys can ding me.
Okay.
All right. So yesterday I was walking down the street and I looked down and I saw a quarter on the ground.
Ding.
I saw a dog, and the dog was growling at me. And
Ding.
And the dog was looked like he wanted to kiss me. So I picked up the dog and I began petting the dog very gently. And the dog started going mew mew mew. And I thought that was very weird coming from a dog. And I looked
Ding.
I thought that was fantastic, and I realized that I could speak dog, and I began conversing with the dog in dog language. And the dog told me that he had lost his master.
Ding.
So the dog told me that I had won the lottery, and in his little baby paw he had a lottery ticket.
Ding.
And he had a switchblade, and he stole my wallet. Okay, so that's how it works.
I love it. I
Okay?
love it.
That's great.
So when
That's
you
wonderful.
so all you have to do when you hear a ding is
Okay.
just put something else in its place and continue on.
All right. Let's see. I was staying in a hotel, and the room wasn't ready.
Ding.
So the room was ready. So I went in, and it was a mess. Nothing was made up. The room was on fire.
Ding.
And the room. This is tougher than
I gotta
you
say,
think.
Michael, you made it look real
Yeah,
easy.
I should have went first. You were a tough
So
act to
it
follow.
wasn't on fire. What was
Okay,
it?
It wasn't on fire. There was the window was open, and it was raining, and the water was coming in.
Ding.
So I shut the window.
Ding.
I used the blanket to climb out of the window, and as I was climbing down, I jumped on the fire escape.
Ding.
The fire escape broke, and as it broke, I fell to the ground and started running.
Ding.
I jumped in a cab.
Ding.
And the cab stopped.
Ding.
The cab started up again, and I jumped on the roof. It was going too quick, and I slid off.
Ding.
I jumped back on, and all right, I think we got it. This is tough. This is very good.
You did well. You did much better than I would have.
Come on, Michael. You obviously are a pro. Yeah,
I've been around it a long time.
yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. That is. But I see how it's a skill, right?
It's absolutely a skill.
It's a muscle that you really work, and
Yeah.
once you get it, it's kind of, you really kind of.
and it's really useful. And this particular, if I did this exercise in a business context, I would go back to the idea that no matter what kind of interaction you're having in a business context, the person across from you is going to say something different than you expected them to, or the conversation is going to go in a way you didn't expect it to go, and you've got to be able to turn on a dime to take the conversation or to go with the person wherever they're going. If you want to have a collaborative relationship with this person,
Right.
So you've got to know that you have other ideas available to you, and that you can go with those other ideas.
Well,
if
I mean,
necessary.
I see the value in just being able to exercise thinking on your feet. I mean, how many times do you have an issue that comes up in business that you have to find a solution for?
Absolutely.
Right. Excellent. I know we're out of time. I want to thank you for coming in, Michael.
It's been great
This has
doing
been
it.
great. We'd love to have you back on. We'll Sid and I will work on an improv chops. We'll impress you next time. Is there anything you want to plug? You have anything?
Long Island Improv, absolutely.
All right.
LongIslandImprov.com. On Sunday afternoons, I teach classes for regular folk who just come to do these kinds of exercises to help themselves with collaboration, communication, creativity.
Okay, cool. Everybody check it out. Learn
Definitely.
something. It's a great skill.
Best thing is it's a lot of fun from
And
this little bit we
right,
did here.
Absolutely, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I want to thank Michael Rock. I want to thank Sin for coming in, for helping out. I'm Brian.
I'm Sin.
This has been Scope of Success, and remember, keep doing the work.
Scope of Success is brought to you by PMI Long Island, the Project Management Institute of Long Island. For more information, visit pmilic.org.